Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Federal agents can now arrest refugees who have lived in the U.S. for more than a year but not applied for permanent resident status, and that is according to a new memo from the Department of Homeland Security. KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis found out what that means for San Diego's refugee population.
A new memo from the Trump administration is spreading fear and panic throughout San Diego's refugee population. The Department of Homeland Security memo, issued just last week, says refugees who have not applied for a green card within 1 year of arriving to the U.S. can be detained so that the government can vet them.
And it's just really causing terror in the community.
Maria Chavez is the Immigration Legal Director at PANA, a nonprofit that helps refugees and new immigrants adjust to life in San Diego. She says the threat of detention is unnecessary. Refugees are already vetted extensively.
But there's a very rigorous vetting process that goes through with the United Nations. And then from there, refugees get resettled in different countries, the United States being one of them. And again, they go through an extensive vetting process before even being able to board a plane to arrive in the United States.
In the memo, DHS says that the policy is needed to protect public safety. But never before has the federal government detained refugees only because of how long it took them to apply for a green card. Chavez says there are a lot of reasons why refugees would put off applying.
It's usually because they have something else going on in their life. Just because they arrive in the United States doesn't mean that they're handed everything on a silver platter. They still have to figure out housing. They still have to figure out food and work. And yes, they do have some help with that, but it doesn't mean anything is easier for them.
But given the new rule, Chavez encouraged every refugee in San Diego County to apply immediately for their green card. According to data from San Diego County, more than 5,000 refugees resettled in San Diego in 2024. That number plummeted to less than 700 last year, after President Trump signed an executive order banning almost all refugees from entering the U.S. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
Right now, the Escondido City Council is being briefed on a contract allowing federal immigration enforcement agents to train at the city's firing range. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Wynn is live in the newsroom with the latest.
Maya, some residents want the city to cancel the contract allowing DHS agents to train at the city-owned firing range. They held a rally earlier this afternoon before the council meeting started. This is over a decade-long contract between the police department and ICE, which is not subject to council approval. Earlier this year, the Escondido Police Department renewed the roughly $67,000 contract. But some residents say they want ICE out of the city because of the heavy-handed immigration crackdown tactics used in Minneapolis and Chicago, with deadly results. Salvador G. Sarmiento is the campaign director for the National Day Labor Organizing Network.
And so people here in San Diego and in Escondido are frankly pissed off. They're upset, and they're really concerned about their families because we don't want that violence to come into our communities. And so that's why people are showing up to the city council meeting.
Some residents say the city has a history of collaborating with ICE, allowing immigration officers to work at police headquarters in the past. Mayor Dane White told our media partner KGTV there might have been some confusion about who's using the firing range.
People were worried about immigration enforcement officers using the shooting range, but since then we have found out that immigration enforcement will actually not be using the range. They utilize a range somewhere else, and this is specifically for HSI.
HSI is a division of ICE. Today's meeting is listed as an information briefing, meaning the council is not expected to take any action. Live in the newsroom, Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
I'm Ariella Scalise, and coming up tonight, pretty similar to the last couple of nights, becoming partly cloudy as temperatures drop to the 50s. We're going to see some of our heat begin to peak before a bit of a change brings some relief on the way. We'll have a closer look at what's ahead coming up.
President Donald Trump arrived on Capitol Hill Tuesday night with lagging approval ratings and his party's midterm fortunes at stake. In a lengthy State of the Union address, he declared a golden age of America and blamed the nation's sluggish economy on Democratic policy. Karen Kafa is on Capitol Hill with a recap and reaction.
It was the longest State of the Union address in U.S. history, clocking in at 1 hour and 47 minutes. President Trump touting economic successes and slamming Democratic policies in a midterm year speech with much at stake for his Republican Party.
President Trump Tuesday night painted a picture of the U.S. economy largely at odds with what economic data, polling, and consumer sentiment surveys show.
Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before.
And attacked Democrats' affordability agenda.
They knew their statements were a dirty, rotten lie. Their policies created the high prices. We are doing really well.
As he entered the chamber, Trump greeted 3 of the 6 Supreme Court justices who ruled against his sweeping emergency tariffs on Friday, then later slammed their decision.
They got it really wrong.
The president also addressing foreign policy hotspots like Venezuela and Iran.
My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon.
And using an appearance by the Olympic champion U.S. men's hockey team to underscore his theme of America winning. Democrats rebutted the speech in different ways. Congressman Al Green of Texas was removed from the chamber early on for a protest. Dozens of other Democratic lawmakers attended a counter rally on the National Mall.
We are better than what is under that Capitol right now.
But the official Democratic response was delivered by Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger, elected last November, and offering a preview of Democrats' potential midterm approach.
He's enriching himself, his family, his friends. The scale of the corruption is unprecedented.
Spanberger also attacked Trump's tariffs, arguing they've hurt American households and the overall U.S. economy. She also said Democrats are laser focused on affordability, teeing up messaging for the midterm campaigns ahead. On Capitol Hill, I'm Karen Kafa.
The city of San Diego will pay more than $6 million to insurance companies to settle legal claims from the January 2024 floods. It is the first major settlement over the floods. The city council voted unanimously last night to approve it. The city still faces dozens of lawsuits over the flood damage. More than 1,500 residents have sued, claiming the city caused the damage by failing to maintain the stormwater system. Council member Sean Elo Rivera said, quote, "We have not forgotten about what happened or the responsibilities we have moving forward." The further east you go on Interstate 8, the more natural the landscape becomes, but the highway can be deadly for the animals that live there. In recent years, wildlife ecologists have been working toward building a safe crossing. KPBS environment reporter Tammy Murga says new border wall fencing is creating greater urgency.
Interstate 8 serpentines through the rugged peninsular mountain range in San Diego and Imperial counties. It's so quiet you can hear a fly buzzing. Standing still on the side of the road, cars cut through that silence. It's no wonder this section of I-8 is considered a hotspot for vehicle collisions with peninsular bighorn sheep.
And that's the thing about the bighorn sheep. They live right there. If they have to go back and forth, they're going to get hit.
Fraser Schilling is a researcher at UC Davis. He says that since 2012, more than 30 sheep have been killed here, and that's likely a big undercount. Nearly half of those roadkill incidents have happened where the east and westbound lanes isolate a critical habitat. Skylar Feltman explains why it's so deadly.
There's unique topography here where the I-8 actually splits in two and it creates this island, and the bighorn sheep, that island, they like to travel to there to rear and lamb, so they're crossing the freeway quite a bit, and they're being struck by vehicles at a high rate.
He's with the State Department of Fish and Wildlife. It's one of the agencies working to build a wildlife overpass to reduce animal deaths. But scientists and conservationists say there's now a greater urgency to complete projects like this. That's because the Trump administration is working to seal gaps in the border wall. and that is likely to impact how and where animals like the endangered bighorn sheep find food and water. Christina Aiello is a wildlife biologist with the Wildlands Network. She says the bighorn that live on the border are being cut off from resources in Mexico, like water.
And that is potentially going to cause them to move further north away from the wall, which then brings them in contact with this highway. Very dangerous, high roadkill rates of bighorn that live in this area.
Aiello says if they do roam toward the I-8,
that also puts them in competition with another U group that lives here already.
She's referring to the Incopa U group. Depending on the season, they move across the highway to access food, water, and have their lambs.
If you then force animals to live in a smaller and smaller area, that's less resources to allow them to produce young successfully. So that can affect their survival. It can affect how many young they're able to put out each year.
On a recent afternoon, Aiello and other conservationists look for bighorn sheep. There are none in sight this time.
I always say they kind of look like on Garbanzo Beach.
But fresh tracks and droppings are a reminder this is still their home.
In my mind, this is exciting because this is evidence that they were right here.
Right here, along a 5-mile stretch of the I-8 between Jacamba Hot Springs and Ocotillo, is where environmental agencies want to build an animal crossing. The Road Ecology Center at UC Davis is using state grant funding to design the wildlife overpass. They plan to have it ready by 2027. Fraser Schilling is the center's director. He says the project also involves adding fencing.
And the concept is that if you fence between crossing areas, that whether they go right or left, they'll eventually find a way across. And you hope that that's what happens.
Schilling says it's important to fence that entire section of the highway where the east and westbound lanes split.
All around the island. And if we think about it, this is a nursery, this is a kindergarten, this is the birthing room at a hospital. That's what this is. We need to protect the whole thing.
Schilling says about 2 to 3 bighorn die every year from vehicles on the I-8. Statewide, he says, there's about twice that number. These figures are underreported because
an animal the size of a bighorn sheep, when it gets hit, only about 40% of the time will it stay visible on the side of the highway. And so part of the time it's going to get injured, part of the time it'll get knocked off the edge and is not visible.
He says the need for fencing and an overpass is becoming far more important with the growth in international trade and travel in that region. Caltrans data show traffic there increased from about 14,000 vehicles a day in 2018 to about 22,000 in 2023. Schilling says this has all become a weird battle between fences, the border wall, and the highway.
And then the irony is that to protect them, we have to fence the highway. You know, and it's really a strange concept to me that we have to protect them from us, basically.
Schilling estimates building the wildlife crossing and fencing will require at least $30 million. Tammy Murga, KPBS News.
mRNA, or messenger RNA technology, has received overwhelming attention in recent years, especially after it enabled the rapid development of the COVID-19 vaccine. Last week, the Food and Drug Administration reversed course and said they would now review Moderna's mRNA flu shot. Ivan Rodriguez joins us from Washington, D.C. with why health experts say Moderna's shot might come with advantages over the traditional flu shot. Ivan?
Maya, if the FDA approves Moderna's new mRNA flu shot, it could be available for people ages 50 and older for the upcoming flu season. The ability to produce these vaccines quickly could also be a game changer when it comes to identifying a flu strain. mRNA, or messenger RNA, may still sound relatively new to many people, but experts say the technology has been studied for decades.
The COVID-19 vaccine really brought it to the forefront.
Andrew Pekosh with the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health says a potential future mRNA flu vaccine could be helpful to the public and scientists.
There have been clinical trials that show that mRNA vaccine generates stronger responses and more protection than the standard flu vaccine. But another thing that it can do is it can shorten the time needed to choose a vaccine strain.
Pekosh says today vaccine strains are chosen 6 to 7 months before flu season. With mRNA technology, it could be shortened to 8 weeks or less.
And what that allows us to do is get a better match between the viruses that are circulating and the vaccine strain.
A common question over the years has been mRNA vaccine safety and the impact to one's DNA.
The mRNA vaccines don't have the ability to do anything to your own DNA. They're specifically designed to stay away from your DNA. Some of the current mRNA influenza vaccines that are moving through the clinical analysis pipeline are even safer than the COVID-19 mRNA and still outperform the standard flu vaccine.
Experts tell me during this year's flu season, when a new strain of the virus emerged, it did not match well to the existing flu shot, but nothing could be done since it could take several months to create a new vaccine. mRNA technology could have helped generate a quicker and better vaccine, experts say. In Washington, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Thank you, Ivan.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, we fact-check some of the claims in President Trump's State of the Union address. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
A proposal to tax empty second homes in San Diego appears headed for the June primary ballot. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says it's a scaled-back version of an earlier proposal.
Last month, Councilmember Sean Ela Rivera proposed a ballot measure that would have taxed vacant homes and short-term home rentals. That triggered a backlash from Airbnb, and the proposal failed to advance out of the council's Rules Committee. The new tax proposal, limited to empty second homes, won unanimous support from that committee on Wednesday. Ela Rivera said homeowners can avoid the tax by simply renting out their second home.
It will change incentives, and homes will come back into use. And just like every new home we build, every home returned to housing is worthy of celebration because it opens the door to a family that gets to stay in San Diego, potentially even as a homeowner.
San Diego has more than 5,100 homes that could be subject to the tax, including downtown condos and La Jolla mansions. The city's independent budget analyst's office estimated it could generate between about $12 and $24 million in the first year. A handful of opponents to the tax measure said it would infringe on property rights and add to an already high tax burden. Councilmember Kent Lee said the tax would only apply to the wealthy.
I said this during the last meeting, but if someone can afford to own a second home and not use it for any purpose, they can absolutely afford to pay that tax, and they should.
The tax measure now has support from a majority of council members. The council has a deadline of March 6th to officially place the tax measure on the ballot. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Musical duo and avid art collectors Alicia Keys and Swizz Beatz have a home in San Diego and will show their Giants collection here this April. Last week, the couple also showed support for local artists in a big way, as KPBS arts reporter Julia Dixon-Evans explains.
In just the second month after transforming into a gallery, some celebrity collectors walked into Por Vida and bought an entire exhibition.
So we're excited to see what's next for us and who comes through the door next. We got Swizz Beatz and Alicia Keys already on 1, 2.
The Barrio Logan Cafe has thrived as a coffee shop and gathering spot for a decade, but something was missing.
God, it was just like, what if we take it back to the roots of how we got started?
Owners Carolina Santana and Milo Lorenzana have a long history with art in the neighborhood and decided to turn their cafe into an art space. So far, the business risk has paid off.
It's all intuitive, to be honest. It truly is an intuitive approach that we've ran with operating Por Vida.
The exhibition, Neighborhood Visuals, features film photography, mostly of Barrio Logan, by artists Oscar Cruz and MJ Pimentel. The images capture scenes of daily life in a strong, connected neighborhood.
This community is what even got me to start saying I'm an artist, or to believe that my photographs are art.
Oh, this neighborhood means everything to me. I'm born and raised here. All my friends are here. My family lived here.
And all 46 works will be added to Swizz Beatz and Alicia Keys' Dean Collection, a significant contemporary art collection, mostly by artists of color. Being included in the collection can be career-changing for artists and for the neighborhood they captured, with international scope and institutional recognition.
And I feel like a lot of these people, like in these photos, they're my friends, they're my neighbors, they're people who are special to me. So I feel honored to be able to bring them to a platform like the Dean Collection.
The exhibit is on view at Por Vida through March 11th, with a closing reception scheduled for March 8th. Julia Dixon-Evans, KPBS News.
Have you listened to The Finest? The KPBS podcast captures the people, art, and movements, redefining our region's cultural identity. A new episode is out on Thursday, and you can listen now at kpbs.org/thefinest or wherever you get your podcasts. President Trump awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor to a Navy veteran from Escondido. Retired Captain Royce Williams was honored for his exceptional valor and heroism during the Korean War. Fellow veterans gathered at American Legion Post 416 in Encinitas to watch as Williams received the Medal of Honor during last night's State of the Union address. They plan to rename the post after him.
Typically, historically, you can only name a post after a deceased veteran, but we've already decided here at the executive board that we're going to go ahead and rename this post after Royce Williams, because it's a rare occurrence that anybody gets a Medal of Honor in the first place, and then to have one that's a member of your Legion post, and really, he's really a member of everybody in San Diego. This is a San Diego event.
Congressman Darrell Issa led the effort to get the medal for Williams, who is 100 years old.
Starting off with some weather headlines here. A little bit of coastal cooling on the way as some fog returns, and then our major warm-up really peaks on Friday, so if you've been enjoying the warmth, you'll like it. If you're hoping for a change, well, a weekend onshore shift will start to bring some relief by the second half of the weekend and early next week. For tonight, clouds begin to increase in San Diego down to 53, a little cooler in Oceanside tonight at 47, Chula Vista down to about 52, Borrego Springs dropping to 56, and a pretty balmy night at Mount Laguna down to about 50 degrees. So we've had plenty of warmth and dry weather and overall across much of the Southwest. Tomorrow is going to be quite pleasant before we start to see temperatures increase again through Friday. Look at that, 73 with sun in San Diego, Oceanside, Chula Vista up to 75. Another hot day in Borrego Springs at 91, and even Mount Laguna starting to see those temperatures on the rise at 64 degrees. Dry weather brings us into the end of the week, so travel, outdoor plans, good to go as we head into the day Friday, and some warmth starts to build back on in here with just some showers returning across northern parts of California, and the snow returns to parts of the north central and northeast, so if you have any travel plans further to the east, something to think about. All right, looking at the coastal forecast the next 5 days. Look at the temperatures peaking on Friday at 77, and then we slowly drop off by early next week. You'll see a similar trend further inland. Can you believe we're going to get to the 90s on Friday? It's going to be a hot way to end the week and to wrap up the month of February, but then temperatures begin to go back near the historical average as we head into the start of next week. All right, temperatures warm into the mountains too, quite enjoyable, pleasant on Friday, and then turns cooler Sunday and Monday. Some of the hottest weather for the desert doesn't come till Saturday, and then temperatures drop off as we head into the end of the weekend and the start of next week. For KPBS News, I'm Ariella Scalise.
Spring break season is around the corner, and if you haven't booked a getaway yet, there is still some time. Jen Sullivan has tips on how to still score some hot deals.
Are you tired of the snow and cold weather? It's not too late to book a spring getaway.
There are loads of places that still have availability and places that you can find great deals.
Emily Kaufman, known as the Travel Mom, says if you're looking for somewhere warm, all-inclusive resorts are great for families.
They're a great way to stick to a budget, and you get so much value. Your accommodations, your meals.
Looking for something adventurous like skiing? If you book at a Vail Resort, which are located at various ski towns, you can get $100 or more off per lift ticket if you book at least 4 weeks in advance.
That's a savings of 30%.
Kaufman recommends Keystone Resort for families. There's one located right outside of Breckenridge, Colorado. If you don't want to splurge on a long hotel stay, Kaufman says check out Resort Pass. They sell day passes to hotels and spas at more than 2,500 locations in the U.S., Caribbean, Mexico, and parts of South America. When you're planning your trip, check out the community's Convention and Visitors Bureau because they'll often advertise special deals on local activities. Kaufman says being flexible with your travel dates will help keep down the cost, but that can be tricky when you're tied to the school calendar.
Flights are going to be challenging because it's all about supply and demand.
Kaufman suggests checking alternate airports around your destination city because prices can fluctuate.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
And it's time now to take a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. NPR's Morning Edition is discussing California's crowded race for governor, where Democrats have 9 major candidates in the running. And an Olympic athlete is back home in Carlsbad, fresh off her Winter Games win in Italy. KPBS Midday Edition is talking to bobsledder Kaylee Humphreys about her journey to the Games after becoming a mom. Get the latest from KPBS delivered right into your inbox. We have a variety of newsletters, including daily headlines, KPBS art, streaming picks, and our North County focus. Go to kpbs.org and look for the newsletter section at the top of your screen, and from there you can sign up with your email address. And that is also where you can find all of tonight's stories on our website, again, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.